Well, good evening, all. I love seeing a full room. This is wonderful. Thank you all for being here. This is the December 11th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. All members of the board are present. We were just in an executive session for discussions of collective bargaining, as well as approval of executive session minutes. That was our 6 o'clock meeting. We are now in open session. If I could invite everyone to join me and stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have a few Treasury warrants to approve. Warrant 22, 22A, 23, and 23A. Do I have a motion? I have a motion made. And second, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. We have a couple of sets of minutes. We'll do them individually. The minutes of September 12th, 2016. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Motion's made.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? I see none. All in favor? Unanimous.
I'm abstaining.
Thank you very much. We have 4 and 1 abstain. Thank you, Ed. Similar, August 14th, 2017. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Seconded.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? I think unanimous. Greg, yes, thank you. And lastly, September 11th, 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will accept it from Mr. Bendel. Do I have a second?
Second.
From Mr. Loud. I'm sorry, discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Again, I'm sorry, please.
I just noticed on the August 14th, Mr. McCoy and I were not in attendance, so we should abstain from that.
That is correct.
Mr. Kyra and Mr. McCoy are excused. So,
We both were vacationing together.
Right.
Ed,
We didn't go to the same place.
Okay, but we, yeah. I was trying to make believe, but anyway.
so let's retake, if it's all right with you folks. Let's negate the vote from the August 14th minutes and start over again. Do I have a motion to approve August 14th?
So moved. Seconded.
I have that made and seconded. All in favor? 3 and 2 abstain. Does that sound accurate?
Sounds good.
Very good. Thank you for catching that, Devin. Just like to see how long I can keep you guys quiet. So our first appointment is the 7 o'clock recognition of the Wilmington Youth Hockey Midget 1 team. And I just think it's ironic that the name of the team is the Midgets, because you guys are anything but midgets. Yeah. You guys are huge. Congratulations, guys. We're very excited to have you here today to recognize you individually, but you as a team as well. I'm not exactly sure what the right way to go is to sort of do this. Who's the head coach? Pat, are you the man? So what I'm going to turn the table over to you just a little bit, Pat. Maybe talk to the microphone here and give us a little backstory. Tell us about your season and their accomplishments, if you would.
These guys made big accomplishments. It was a great season. They played they're the first Wilmington hockey team to ever win at the large level for midgets. So at the highest level, the highest midget level there is, which is the U18, Wilmington played at for the first time and won it. So that's a huge accomplishment that nobody else has made. And in the finals, we played a Framingham team that was their entire varsity team, and they're likely to qualify for or be in the running for the Division I high school this year. So they should feel pretty good about themselves. And as the team itself, they're just a bunch of good, hardworking kids. A lot of them I've only had for a year or two, so I didn't have them when they were younger. They'd probably be surprised that I used to coach. I used to coach more. But this year, I went much different, and I really laid it on the kids. I let them run the show. I had my captains and some leaders, and I had them run the practices. And I really hoped as the year went on, the team would just gel together and the leaders will come out, and they did. They really, really did. At the end of the year, I could certainly look to 4 or 5 of the veterans that just took leadership roles, and it was nice to see. And they earned it.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you, Pat. That's great. That's a great summary. I want to give the opportunity to my colleagues here to express any sentiments or questions or whatever. So I don't know if Greg, I'll start down to my right. If that's
Thanks,
all right.
Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Guys, congratulations on a great season, and to you and your coaches as well. Congratulations, coaches, and then to your parents, who I know invest a lot of time and money and energy into supporting you guys. So congratulations to all of you guys. You should be very proud of yourselves. We're really proud of yourself, proud of you guys, and you guys really met the pinnacle here. I mean, when you sit in front of 5 suits, I know this is what you wanted to do, and I'm kidding, of course, but I'm glad you guys won, and I wish you guys well in high school. I know this is going to hopefully the success will carry into your high school season. Some of you guys playing for a couple different schools, I know, but I wish you well, especially the Wildcats, and congratulations. By the way, you should be very proud of yourselves. This is coming from a guy who can't stand up on skates. I'm probably the worst hockey player, so congrats.
Mr. Carr?
I used to use boots to pretend I could skate, so I don't skate as well. But this is just outstanding. Congratulations. Just a great accomplishment. First time in history from what I read, and that's just amazing. Again, I echo Mr. Bendel's comments about the hard work that you put in, all the time working to achieve a goal, and you work together. That's one of the most important things to do, working as a team. You had some great coaches, outstanding parents that would bring you back and forth. Can't say enough how proud we are and how proud Wilmington is of your accomplishment. First time in history, just unbelievable. You set the bar way up there. In the hockey program in Wilmington and in the other places that you play, certainly proud of you and gonna relish that commitment that you've undertaken and continued forward in your hockey career, I hope, into college. So congratulations.
I'm just going to go right in line, if that's all right with you, gentlemen. You know, it's been alluded to and already mentioned, but I think it bears being repeated, is that while, gentlemen, what you guys accomplished is tremendous, it comes at not at the expense, but really on the heels of a lot of effort and time and energy of your parents who are sitting behind you. So kudos to you, all parents, for the years of dedication that you've put into these fine young men. They are tremendous representatives of the town of Wilmington, so good for you, and thank you for sharing them with us. Pat, I loved what you said about the leadership, that really cultivating in them the opportunity to grow as leaders themselves. It's easy to bark and yell and scream out orders to a bunch of guys on the ice, but when they start taking that ball and running with it, these guys are clearly going to be leaders in whatever they do in their life. So because of the life lessons that you as a coach have given to them, so kudos to you. And lastly, I'll just simply say thank you to each of you. Certainly congratulations, but thank you, because as you conducted yourselves as athletes and you competed, you did so in a way that represented the town of Wilmington. And so you go out there and hopefully you won, and you did. You won mostly. And you will, as you go into your high school teams now this season, you represent the great town of Wilmington when you go out there. You act as gentlemen, you act as good sportsmen, and that's, again, who we want to be seen as a community. So as a town leader, I say thank you for helping make our town a better place to live. So kudos and congratulations, gentlemen.
I just want to say a couple of things. Obviously, it's all already been stated, but, you know, you always hear in the newspapers or you see on TV all the bad that young adults do or young kids, but there's a lot of good that happened in this room, and it's a lot of reflection on your parents getting up early in the morning, taking you kids right down to, you know, hockey at an early age. But, you know, and I know a few years back, serving on the board for a few years, when they won a championship, they came in with blonde hair, and we put on blonde wigs. Happy to do it next time if you guys decide to do it, you know? And yeah, I don't know about shaving the heads, guy, you know. But, you know, once again, a lot of goes out to your parents. Don't forget your parents, and you guys really did an outstanding job. And it just says a lot. When I was a kid, you know, we had the old Bobby O'Reilly hockey skates. Obviously, being a big guy, I couldn't do it, so I thought I was like Jerry Cheevis at the end of Kenwood Ave in the pond, but I would play goalie, being the big guy. But once again, a lot of kudos to you guys, your parents and your coaches. Outstanding, guys. Fantastic.
So I was probably one of the guys that did play youth hockey. I played with a couple of your parents that I see behind you, so I remember those days, and brings back my days as a youth and how much fun and the memories that you guys created with each other, and Coach Pat. So remember those and cherish those memories. Everything else has been said. I'm really glad you guys had fun. You had fun representing this town, this great town of Wilmington, and we thank you for that. And enjoy and have fun in high school and win.
Certainly, a lot of it's been said. It's just amazing to me how hockey runs so deep in Wilmington, and when not to get too much off topic, but when you think about the fact that we've, as all of you know, struggled over the years here trying to get ice time in Wilmington, it just goes to show that it isn't the rink; it's the desire within each of you to excel and to play as a team. And it's not the facility that makes championships, it's you working together. So congratulations and best of luck.
So we've got some certificates for each of you. What we're going to do is I'm going to come out in front. Jeff is going to read your name, and then I'll hand you the certificate. I don't know, is there anybody doing photo ops or anything for this stuff? I don't know. So parents can take a photo while I have it, your young person in front. And then when we're all done, I'll tell you what, as I read your name, kind of go down and stand here, and we're going to line up here, and then we're going to do a big photo up at the very, very end of all this. So that's the plan here.
All right, so these certificates are from the town of Wilmington in recognition of your exceptional performance as a member of the Wilmington Youth Hockey Midget 1 team, 2017-2018 Massachusetts Midget Tier Large State Champions. First, Jared Acoyne. Ryan Barrett. Connor Bennett. Stephen Boker, Jr. Dylan Bresnahan. Nathaniel Demeco. Michael Ducharme. Conlon Duffy. Robert Farrell. Michael Fiorenza. Joseph Hill. Timmy Keppinger. If I got that wrong. Robert Lord. Anthony McKerney. Joseph Marabella, Jr. Dean Nally. Christian Robarge. Thomas Robarge. Chris Spinazzola. Ryan St. Jean. Jared Venezia. Thomas Warab. And these last two are in recognition of your coaching staff, Michael Fiorenza. Patrick Nally.
Now, we have business to tend to. You guys don't have to all leave. You can sit and watch.
Someone can text us the Patriots score, that would be good.
Yeah. See,
It's not on Netflix. They're not
Aileen,
watching
did you get a picture? Yeah. Can you send it to Doreen, or can I get a copy of it off your phone? Thank you. All right, thanks. Congratulations.
Thanks for coming.
Very well. Okay, that's always fun. That's a great way to start a meeting. Thank you to the team and the parents and the coaches for their efforts. Our 7:15 scheduled appointment is with Ad Berahim Hamina on behalf of Sale LLC, doing business as Good as It Gets Cafe, with regards to a request for a common victualer's license for property located at 35 Lowell Street, Unit 1. This is a public hearing with regards to this subject. Is Mr. Hamina here? Yes, sir. Do we need him to, do we prefer him to?
Sure, yes.
Yes, sir, if you don't mind, if you would take the side table there, those microphones are live, just so that any questions and answers can be directed to you. Thank you. Nice to meet you, sir.
Oh, same here, thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to just give us the quick rundown of what's happened here at As Good as It Gets?
I've been dining at the restaurant for the past 3 years. My family and I, we love it. I've always wanted to open such a establishment, a cafe or a breakfast place. And I asked for Richard's phone number. I was given, Richard is the owner, or the ex-owner, if you will. I was given his number. I called him up and I said, are you interested to sell? He said, no. And I said, can I buy you a coffee? He said, yes. So we met at Heavenly Donut back in May, and one thing led to another, and here we are, trying to finalize this great opportunity for my family, and from his family to my family, and to the families of Wilmington that come and dine at the place.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Jeff, do you have any recommendations or
I do.
discussion points?
So we have recommendations from Shelley Newhouse, the health director. I recommend approval of the application for the common victualler license, As Good as It Gets, located at 35 Lowell Street. Also, recommendation from Al Spalding, the Inspector of Buildings, after review and consideration of the Town of Wilmington bylaws and all applicable codes, I have no outstanding zoning issues with the above-mentioned business.
Thank you. It is a public hearing, so is there anyone in the audience that would have any questions or concerns about this? I want to certainly go to the, I didn't see any, so any discussion points from the, yes, Ed?
Is there anything gonna change? Because it's a great place to have breakfast.
Nothing will change. There was a promise from me to Richard and the staff. I like the place. Everything will remain the same. If it's not broken, why would you fix it? So I worked for the Back Bay Group, and I worked on their paparazzi, the Italian concept, for years with Mr. Sarkis. Mr. Sarkis became ill, decided to sell the concept, was purchased by a group out of Newport. 2010, they were in the process of acquiring the concept. They went in and made a bunch of changes. The first restaurant to close is the one in Burlington. They went in and made all bunch of changes. Nothing was wrong with the food. Food was absolutely delicious, authentic, and 6 months later, they end up closing the place. So nothing will change. Everything will remain the same, except ownership.
So the lines are still gonna be there.
The what, I'm sorry?
The lines, it's worth the wait.
Well,
conversation.
we'll try to work on that. So, so the answer is yes, yes.
It's a great place to go to.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I just want to say something. I was seeing Richard in between the time when we were congratulating the hockey players. He's giving me a thumbs up. I'm giving him a thumbs up. I get it, man. Getting out. I'm telling you. And I got advice for you. Do not change a thing. It's probably the best breakfast in town. Keep it the way it is. When you got a well-greased machine, you don't change it. And that's all I'm going to say. And I'll tell you, since I sold my biz, I've been in there many times. I've been at Rocco's restaurants. As you can tell, like, I don't eat, right? So, but anyway, they do a great job. Don't change a thing. Listen to this man. Keys to success, don't change a thing.
My wife also said that, so
There you go.
trust me.
Not everybody listens, but good luck. You know?
My only comment that I had wasn't really a question for you, sir, really just a comment to Mr. DeAngelis. Thank you, sir, for the years of service into our town, and congratulations to you for, I presume it's a retirement for you, or page 2, as it were?
Don't know. I've always worked all my life, 2 jobs. Well, you know, the restaurant, you work 3 jobs, you wear many hats, so after it's all said and done, my wife and I will sit down, go out to dinner, and discuss it.
I know a great place to have dinner. That's right, that's right. No other questions I have, gentlemen?
Congratulations on your pending retirement, and much luck. Good luck.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Endeavor.
It's a blessing for us and my family, so.
Yeah, best of luck to you. My wife and I love going there as well, so we look forward to it, and I wish you well in the future as well.
Appreciate it.
With that said, I will close the public hearing portion of this and accept a motion to approve the common victuals license.
I'd make a motion that we grant the common official license, doing business As Good as It Gets, cafe, property located at 35 Lowell Street, Unit 1, on behalf of LLC, doing that business as.
I'll accept that as a motion made by Mr. McCoy, seconded by Greg, and all in favor? Unanimous. Sir, good luck to you.
Thank you,
We look
appreciate
forward
it.
to seeing
Hope
you.
to see you all there sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You
sir.
did a great job, guy, let me tell you.
Good luck.
I was saying, come down and beat on me, but I don't know.
That's nice. Our scheduled 7:20 appointment that we're a little late for, Colleen, I'm sorry, there you are, is with Colleen O'Brien, General Manager of Reading Municipal Light Department, for the fiscal year 2017-2018 update. Do we have visual aids for this, Colleen? I'll let you set up. How are you doing?
I think it's all set up. You gonna be able to see that?
You want to see things? You want to see things? Can you see this? Do you want me to turn this?
I don't know. WCTV, do you have an angle on that, or you're okay? Okay. We're okay. We have printed aids, so
Oh, okay.
as long as the camera's good on it.
Good.
I think we're okay. So Colleen, I'll give you the floor as soon as you feel prepared to take it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having us. This year I've brought with me the Director of Engineering and Operations, Hamid Jafari, who's going to assist me with this presentation. So, as the chairman has said, we're going to speak a little bit about recapping fiscal year 17 and what's going to go on for 18 coming up. I'd like to start off with some of these beautiful photographs. One of the things we did differently this year, we have a third grade program for our art contest that, you know, deals with energy conservation and safety. And this year we went through the high school. So we had a number of high school students that came in during the summer, came in and had a little training session. And then they were asked to perform artwork. We provided all the supplies and they did it on their own time at home. And then we had some amazing art that came in. And as I had said a few years ago, when we went paperless and got greener and got more efficient, we stopped doing this corporate look for an annual report and went more towards paperless, and we've had a couple of students do the front cover work. So this year, what's entitled on this artwork is called Electric Tree by Laura Buscemi from North Reading High School. She won the cover of the annual report. Very intricate drawing, beautiful. On the third page, the second place winner was Megan Coram from Reading Memorial High School, Shred the What. This picture was so beautiful and the colors were so amazing, we ended up putting them on the back of the t-shirts for our annual Public Power Open House, where we celebrate all of the benefits of locally owned power. On the next page, we have third place was Sophia Bonacorsi from Wilmington High School. The title was Public Power. And that's just an all-around feel-good picture to me, you know? That's what I hope it's like out there. And the fourth place was Patrick Osella from Reading Memorial High School, Shave the Peak, which I thought was a very comical. So the barber says, "What would you like today, Mr. Peak?" And he says, "A little off the top, please." So it's pretty good. Anyway, so we're very, very happy. We had all of the artwork hung in the lobby at the RMLD, and I think the kids enjoyed it. They all got, you know, the first, second, third, and fourth place winner got, you know, art prizes. And I think we're going to do it every year. So we'll get them this summer, or next summer, and maybe do a different medium, maybe photography. So we have some new exciting things coming in, so maybe we'll switch it up a little bit of what we'd want the artwork theme to be. Getting right into the next page is your FY 2017 statistics. They speak for themselves every year. When I give the presentation, we usually just kind of go through our retail sales and, you know, the number of dig-safe calls. And the new services in Wilmington were 24 residential and 8 commercial industrial for the town of Wilmington. On the next page, we can go quickly through the highlights. I am very pleased to announce that we had a clean audit with no management letter. So that's a big accomplishment for us. We also installed a 2.5 megawatt natural gas powered distributed generator at the North Reading substation, which is shredding the peak. And so that got installed, and we had a ribbon cutting in June, and it came online, and we've pretty much run it every month on the transmission peak and then the annual capacity peak. So it was an amazing project, and we're very proud of that. Solar Choice Community Program continues to be successful, especially in Wilmington. We love Wilmington for their solar choice. 100% subscription, or 500 customers at the first project at 326 Ballardvale, which was a 1 megawatt solar project. And now we are accepting subscriptions for project number 2, which is also in Wilmington at 4050 Fordham Road. That's 660 customers at 1.67 megawatts. So we are not sold out yet. So if you're interested in investing in solar, perhaps you're not able to put it on your own roof, but you want to invest in community solar, certainly give us a call. There's still room.
Colleen, if I could
Yes.
interrupt, I'm sorry.
Sure.
If someone was a participant in the first project, can they submit their name for consideration to be part of the second one as well? Or is there restrictions on that?
You know, that's the first time I've heard that question, because when we did the first one, we took everyone that was in Green Choice and we gave them the first opportunity. Whether or not people are trying to get in on the second one, and they can be in on both, if you would kindly let me ask Jane what the rules on that is. I hadn't had that question, but I can certainly get back to you on that.
Thank you.
If you go to page 8, the Solar Choice Program, the overview, allowing customers the opportunity to share in the benefits of large solar systems installed within the 4 towns. It's a monthly charge of $5 for the first year, and savings over time can be estimated to be over $300. No hassle of installation and clean local power. You know, when I came, we had the Green Choice, which was buying green someplace out there, and now the fact that we can have our own green program within our service territory is really, it's really important, and I think it's good for the community to see that we're producing power right here, right within our system. But I will ask that question. Jot that down. Every third year, we do a cost of service study. So this was year 3, so we completed our cost of service study. Essentially, the results of that study moved several of the classes towards center. Residents had migrated a little bit on the other side of a zero return, which is typically where residents are usually their rate classes, meaning that residents have a zero return, and the returns are coming in from commercial and industrial, and the residents have kind of migrated out. So we're pulling everybody back more towards a standard utility cost of service practice, and we're phasing those in over about 5 years. It's a minimal impact, but we just don't want them to keep migrating out. We want them to stay with best utility standards and rate practices. Shred the Peak educational campaign, we talked about that a little bit. The high school art student, we talked about that. We have brand new efficiency programs and rebates, including a new customer rebate portal that's online. So now when you want to do your rebates, you can submit right online. And that's an efficiency upgrade. And we continue to implement the organizational and reliability study. In the areas of efficiency and peak reduction, we have our commercial and energy initiative program that you can call and get rebates and audits within your commercial companies. Commercial lighting rebate program. Electrical vehicle charging station rebate program. We have a couple of them at Analog. We are actually building one that we got a grant from Volkswagen that we're building at the RMLD, and we're looking for places that you folks in each of the town representatives may feel would be a good spot right off the highway or something that we could build one in each of our service territories with some of the grant money. They are online so that people that drive around in electric vehicles, these charging stations will be on the apps, ChargePoint app, so we're excited about that. The online store offers 50% off of retail pricing on an assortment of LED bulbs, advanced power strips, and not to forget your holiday lights. Kind of talked about the gas-powered. Okay, we applied for a state fund grant to explore the energy storage and shredding the peak. And I hate to be out of order, but if you go to the last page, because when I made this, we weren't there yet. But this picture right here, if everybody sees, recognize me, recognize Hamid. This is Jane, who I brought last year. She's the director of our integrated resources. And right in the middle is Charlie Baker. To the right is Tom O'Lillo, one of our integrated resources. And we are so proud to have won $1 million last Thursday for a battery storage project that we're going to put in our substation, and we're really excited about it. So NextEra is going to help us build it, and then we'll get $1 million off of the pricing, which will really help all of our customers to reduce their power costs. Wow. So very exciting to get into that technology. We were thrilled to be one of, there was 23, I think, winners out of 69 applicants. And so we're going to be building 5 megawatts.
How far down the road do you see that cost savings to the consumer?
Well, we're not putting the capital money up to actually build the battery storage. NextEra Energy Group is, and then we're using the $1 million when we create a purchase and power agreement with NextEra. When we take that power from them, we'll be able to reduce it by $333,000 each year for 3 years.
Oh,
Is that, did I answer your
no,
question?
I thought you said that the consumer would see a reduction in cost.
Oh, well,
You had just said that, so I was just wondering how far down the road would the consumer in Wilmington see that reduction in cost? Would it be 5 years from now, or?
No, it'll
10
be
years from
quicker than
now,
that.
yeah.
We actually just got the grant on Thursday, so we're meeting with NextEra to go over the negotiations for building the plant. It shouldn't take that long to build. I mean, these batteries come in, they're lithium-ion batteries, and it'll sit on a, concrete slab. And we should be able to discharge them fairly quickly. The only issue with batteries is they discharge for 2 hours. So we're targeting the peak to reduce. So we get the cost savings every time we shave that peak. But it should be $330,000 each year for 3 years, and I'm hoping that it will start next year sometime. That it'll be built and we will already start the savings.
The savings are going to be basically on capacity and transmission charges, which is going to be much less than what it would be without that.
The savings is going back to you, not the consumer? Or is
No,
it
it's
going
go-
to the consumer?
No, it goes to the customers.
Okay.
Did that answer the question?
Not really, but that's okay.
Oh,
No, that's fine.
I want to answer your
I'm good.
question. I want to be
No,
able to, okay.
no, I'm good.
All right, well,
Anyway.
if you think of it, another one.
No,
Sure, sure.
I thought of the question, I just didn't get the full answer. Thanks.
I would say you're going to start realizing the savings as part of the bill within a year. I'm not thinking it's going to take
Right, that's what I
more.
wanted to know.
Okay, I don't think it's going to take that long to build, but we haven't even had our first meeting yet, so I don't want to speak on behalf of NextEra they won a couple of different grants, so I just want to make sure we know when we're going to start. But we're really hoping that it's up and running before this year's peak, which is usually around the end of June or July, and then that will count as year 1, and then year 2 and year 3.
Thank you.
So,
So, I'm sorry, now I'm forming questions.
Sure.
So in the absence of having access to these battery,
right,
the peak comes, whether the
Right.
battery's there or not.
right.
What would happen? What happens currently? If we didn't have the batteries, if we didn't get the grant, if NextEra wasn't an option for
Right.
us, what's the sequence of events?
So typically what happens is during high peak demands, that happens in, June, July, and August when it's a really hot day, and ISO New England, the grid operators they'll call for a peak, and we have transmission peaks that occur each month, and then you have your overall capacity peak for the year. So your highest peak of the year basically kind of sets your price. It's like kind of your benchmark for your price for all of your rates for the entire year. So when that peak is hitting, and you can shave down, like the gas generator, 2.5 megawatts, you're saving a significant amount of money by doing that. So anytime that you can shave the peak, so when we send out shave the peak campaigns of people, and we tweet them, and we'll say, listen, between 2 and 7 today, try to get the kids outside to play, try to lower your costs. If we can get, an appeal from the consumers, and we can use our gas generator, and now we can dispatch these batteries, we have a real good chance of getting that peak low enough to really impact our rate structure.
Right, so it's the overall rate structure. It's not just the bill the month after the peak happened, but rather the rate structure for the entire year based on the peak being a little bit lower than where it would have been.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that.
Well, when you're doing rates, a lot of times you forecast ahead and then you reconcile behind. So you go 6 months and you reconcile 6 months, and you're going in a, you know what I mean? So if you were to have a peak or something were to happen, let's say Seabrook and Millstone shut down at the same time, and you had to go buy replacement energy, and it was costly, you wouldn't recover that in a month. You'd spread it out so that it would make sense of, that you're not creating any type of rate shock or anything like that.
Okay.
So
So to speak.
And just to follow up, what do you think the percentage of savings would be to the consumer? 1%, 0.5%, 2%? You must have you must have did some analysis when you got all of this.
for just the battery or for the generator?
For the savings
Right.
to the consumer.
The generator can save up to a couple few $100,000 per year.
$400,000 a year.
And but that's a continuous run. We haven't really, or I haven't asked Jane what the analysis is on the 5 megawatt, but I would probably guess about 100 and something thousand every time that you bring it down a megawatt. So it could be pretty significant, but it's only for 2 hours. So if you're peaking between 2 and 7, if you can hit that hour exactly, it's pretty significant. As soon as Jane runs the numbers, like, we're so excited, we just got the grant. So we're trying to calculate everything out right now. That's why I didn't really put anything in the slide except the picture of me with the governor. But I can send that along to Jeff so that you can have some analysis. But several $100,000 if we hit the peak exactly.
And that gets distributed to the
Distributed,
ratepayers. So we
correct,
just
to
do the
everyone.
math, whatever that is. Okay.
Where's the batteries gonna be, what substation, or where are you building that?
It's going to be at Station 3, right next to the generators existing.
North Reading?
The North Reading substation, right. Just want to remind you that these charges that Colin and I were talking about, the capacity transmission, these are passed through from New England ISO directly to the customers. So when you shred the peak, the lower it is, less charge is going to come to us. That means that saving is being passed through the customers directly, that's why we're taking these initiatives.
Did you get the generator installed in time last year for shredding the peak for the summer season at all?
Unfortunately, we didn't, because there were some delivery issues with the vendor, but we missed the peak. However, we've been catching up with the monthly peak. So we have so far saved the monthly peak. There's a monthly peak and there is an overall system peak. So the system peak last year was early in June. It was usually the peak is in July and August. So, they were supposed to finish the project by June 30th, which wasn't finished by July, mid-July was finished. However, we already missed that peak for the year.
How many hours have you put on the engine so far?
So far, I would say we have had about 5 times 5, 25, 30 hours total together.
Awesome.
So what happens is, usually if you run the peak, first of all, we can run up to 600 hours if we wanted to. But usually peak is between 3 o'clock to 7 p.m., 3 to 7 p.m. So for every month when we get the signal from New England ISO that, you know, it might be the peak, or get the signal from Nextera, there are sites that, you know, would basically give us signal that, you know, you might be peaking today. Or Tangent. Tangent is another contractor which, you know, they monitor the peak on a monthly basis. And they give us signal that you might hit the peak today. So we run it usually when they give us a few hours notice, you know, we run it, and then that way the savings will come about, you know, for the customers. And we run the generator, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, on page 9, economic development, just very similar to, you know, when we come in and we had talked when Osram was coming in. These are some of the exciting benefits of receiving electric service from the RMLD. So we try to work with each of the towns on the economic development. It's just a reminder, locally owned and operated, reliability exceeding regional and national averages, response time, customer service programs, competitive rates, efficiency, incentive, and rebate programs, enhanced communication, and green and renewable objectives. So if you have any customers that you think are coming in, let us know, and we'll be glad to come in and show them all of the benefits that they can with their electric bill, if that would help. Proactive maintenance programs, we talked about last year, cyclic substation maintenance programs with the tech services group. We went through some of these, the transformers, pole testing, tree trimming, porcelain cutouts, quarterly inspections, infrared scans of the substations, and secondary and main service upgrades. We continue to progress through those on a fairly good clip. We're trying to get these programs into a regular maintenance program and identify all of the areas that may have problems. On the next page, we're discussing the LED streetlight programs, which we are on target. As you remember, we got $250,000 grant for LEDs, of which $125,000 was given and split amongst the municipals, and the other $125,000 went to residents and commercials privately for any LED programs that they had in their businesses or their homes. Today, there is 6,232 lights that are installed as of October 22nd, which is 78% complete. And you can see in Wilmington, in FY17, we completed 704. In FY18, we have 296 to complete the entire town. So we've heard nothing but good things. We have heard no complaints, so we're thinking everyone is happy with the new lights, and that's a good thing. On the next page, it's just a recap of the LED streetlights, how many you had of the 50-watt high-pressure sodiums, the mercury vapors, and then the light counts, the annual savings. And then through November 8th, 2017, we've done 1,995, and we're at 75.57 complete for Wilmington. Is that a different number? Overall, 78% complete, 75.57 in Wilmington.
If I may ask, just briefly, on these LED lights, they're obviously using a lot less energy, but still creating the same amount of light or lumens, whatever.
Yes.
But are they also less costly to maintain? I know the older, they had expensive lamps that you had to replace. These don't really have anything to replace, right?
No, once you put them up, they're supposed to last, 20, 25 years. With little to no maintenance. I mean, every once in a while you might have a manufacturer defect or something like that, but we really haven't had any problems. We've had a couple of little tweaks where we've, it may be aimed a little bit off, that someone is asking us to make an adjustment, but
it's not like the bulb replacements and outages and things like that would happen?
Nope. And in fact, in the towns of North Reading and Reading that had some lights that were scheduled to be out, everyone is elected to turn them all back on. And that was a big thing, because, when you look down the street, you don't want to roll the truck down the street, but you can see that there's a light out. You'd have to drive down the street and actually look to see at the top of whether or not it was targeted to be out or not. So it's a lot easier to be able to patrol and to assess the lights now that all the lights are on that are supposed to be on. So we're happy with that choice that those towns made.
Disposal of these lights, are they hazardous material? The LEDs?
The LEDs, not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
I'll double check that, but no. You mean like a compact fluorescent
Yeah,
type
I
of,
didn't know if they were.
let me look. I don't think so. We haven't thrown any away yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully not for 25 years, but I want to say no. We probably will bin scrap them in the metal, and they'll get taken away, but I will definitely. Because I don't think that there's any special disposal of your LEDs at home that I know of. There are for CFLs, but none that I know of for LEDs at this time. And I don't think that the streetlight ones, it's just the array of them. They're the same types of LEDs as what you would have at home. But I will get back to you on that and send Jeff an email. The next one is the double poles, and this is from the engines report, and it's just a snapshot. It does change. So Wilmington custodial is by Verizon. So that means that each pole is owned 50-50, Verizon and RMLD, but then custodial, meaning the person that puts the pole out and takes the pole butt out, is Wilmington, has Verizon. We have North Reading, RMLD has North Reading and half of Reading, and Verizon has Linfield. So Comcast, you can see in 5 transfers, non-participating third party, which I believe is Wilmington, Wilmington Town, perhaps maybe fiber. Non-participating fire alarms, 4. Reading Municipal Lights, we have 31 transfers and 4 pole poles. And so even though we're not the custodial, it's probably a sole-owned pole. Verizon has 54 and 3 poles. Town of Wilmington has 10 transfers, and the Wilmington Fire Department has 72 transfers. So I will work going forward with Jeff to see how we can target some of these, perhaps fiber loops for the schools and the fire department. I know the fire department had put in a completely brand-new system and left the existing system in place, and so all of that wire has to come down. So it's not technically transfers, it's really eliminating it. So we're gonna have to come up with a way of that being addressed.
So just to be clear, that the 72 attributed to the Wilmington Fire Department, this is wiring that that has been discontinued, that needs to be taken off the pole, is that what?
That's my understanding, that the fire department put up a wireless alarm system and left the previous hard wire attached.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, to maybe go further with that question, the wiring itself is now obsolete and needs to be removed, presuming that the wireless is functional. But are there poles uniquely established for just that system? Or
No,
was the
they're
wired system on other poles?
Right, they're attached, and I think in some cases where, you know, we at Reading Light can't remove all of the wire. It's surplus assets. They have to come back to the town of Wilmington. You have to decide what you're gonna do with your surplus, whether it gets, you know, put it on municipal bid or whatever is going to happen. It isn't just wire, there's fireboxes as well. But it does have to be removed, and there are double poles out there that they're being held up from a transfer because, you know, Verizon's probably thinking it's going to be transferred and not completely taken down. So you can't just cut down that one pole because it's being stranded continuously. So,
So you're working with our administration to strategize the removal of that?
we're trying to identify the non-participating third-party attacher is a town of Wilmington product. The 10 down at the bottom is another town of Wilmington product. And we're just trying to identify the correct person that might be in charge of, it could be a fiber loop or a piece of fiber that might run from school to school or something like that. So we're trying to identify with Verizon exactly what it is and who owns it. And they maybe work with them to see what the plan is. Is it obsolete? Is it coming down? Does it need to be transferred? I mean, certainly if it's just, if all, the key point is, let's say you take the town of Wilmington, 10 transfers. I don't know what that system is, so I don't know if there's 150 points attached, 3,000 points attached, or maybe it's just 10. So if it's just 10, it's probably not a problem for Reading Light when we're out there to do that transfer, but without me knowing what it is, or how many there are, it's hard for us to commit to what we can do to try to support the town.
So just on that, so that we can follow up on this, who would be the point person if, you know, if it's the fire department that we need to have contact your office, or some of these general town of Wilmington polls? Is there a designee that you have that we should be in touch with to try to figure out what needs to happen next?
Yeah, I would,
Okay.
Yeah, you can contact me, send me,
yeah, Hamid can give you his
and I'll
card.
take care of that, yeah.
Okay.
I added a slide for the storm that we had in October, just so that you had a little snapshot of what the areas that were out. Trees obviously were the major culprit for the majority of the outages. As far as the rest of the towns were concerned, the only one major outage that we had that was about 1,600 customers was in Reading, and it was a feeder. The rest of the towns were very similar to Wilmington, where trees had taken down certain areas that may have had multiple lateral streets. But you can see reinstalling several poles and putting wires back up off the ground, bringing in cranes to remove large trees so that we can even get in there is a significant process and is very time consuming. So while the hours do look a little scary overall compared to other areas and other towns, including neighboring Andover and stuff that was out for 5 days, we did a very good job and we were up fairly quickly. So, but these are the major areas that you had in the Wilmington. And I just wanted to mention on that, I can't really publish the number publicly, but I will send Jeff an email. We have established a liaison phone that you call. There's already a police and fire dedicated phone that's in the control room for police and fire to report downed wires, arcing wires, large trees or things like that. That goes right to the control room and it bypasses the normal call-in. But then we also now want to provide a liaison that the town manager can call or the police chief can call if you're just looking for an update, and maybe the information that's on Twitter is just, you know, not enough and you're looking for something else. And the person that will be on that phone will either be myself, or Hamid, or our community relations manager. We're trying to minimize the amount of people that are going into the control room, and you know, the foremen and the linemen and that are trying to disperse, and the engineers that are trying to disperse the work and try to, you know, prioritize and make sure that we get crews to each of the towns, and to address the priorities in the order that's to the safety of the workers and the public. But I will send Jeff that new phone number, and certainly he can share it with you, but I couldn't really create a slide on it. So our strategic vision going forward, we're working in negotiations right now for securing land for the new substation on Ballardvale. We're very excited about that. Really hoping that we get that and we can move forward. We are implementing a power supply risk mitigation plan in our integrated resources group, where we're working with NextEra again to, instead of going out and buying power once a year with 6 bids, we're actually had created a risk mitigation plan that allows us to buy more granularly, more often, based on 4-year averages of prices. So it allows us to capture that, and the CAB approved their recommendation to the board. Thank you, George, and then the board approved it, so we're very excited about that. That should help to lower some costs. We're going to be sending out a lot of education on the electric vehicles and those grants that we received, the rebates. And again, I can talk to Jeff about perhaps where you would like to have one located in your town. We have a technology roadmap and a new outage management system coming in. So as much as I love Twitter, we're going to have an IVR system, and we're going to be able to see exactly where the trucks are being dispatched, and we're going to be able to get out information a lot more like National Grid. If you've ever gone online and you see a map and you can see the area that's out, and there's information about how long it's going to take and when they're going to be up, it'll be a lot more visual. It'll be closer to that. But we're trying to get the software together and have it all connected in. We're building a new control room, so that's right around the corner. So we're excited about that. We want to continue to work with the high school and extend our community outreach. We're going to keep getting greener, keep going paperless, and keep being more efficient. We continue with our talent management and succession planning, career developments, and we mentioned the economic development opportunities, because while our sales are still relatively flat, we're hoping that, especially in the town of Wilmington, where we have this growth area and where we're going to be installing this new substation, that if the town's willing, that some economic growth in that area would be good. The last thing I just want to mention is that usually I give you kind of a ballpark of where the rate is going to go, so that you can segue it into your budgets. And I know last year I said between 4% and 7%, and this year it's going to be between 0 and 2%. Hopefully 0. That's what we're trying to target on, but we want to say 0 to 2 at this point. And then as we kind of do our budgets at the same time as you do, so as we move along and do more of our analysis, some of that being what maybe the battery storage will bring in, we'll give you a better update on that. But that's where we're looking at. So it's coming down.
Good news, Chairman. I have one question on the substation in Wilmington. Are you gonna do a peak shaver also there? Engine?
No, unfortunately, there is no room over there. It's a compact land. We don't have room for another engine. That would be ideal. However, across the street, there is a project that, another solar that might go in. We are looking into that. So rather than putting in on this side of the street, it might go across the street for another probably 4 to 5 megawatts.
Great.
It's station, the new substation at Wilmington on Ballard Bay Street. I'm sorry.
Are you asking when we build the new one, can we put?
The new
Yeah, unfortunately, the land where we're targeting at Ballardville, we're actually working with the town for a variance hardship for land to building ratio. We're working with our purchase and sales with the owner so that they stay in conformance, and that we would be asking the Board of Appeals to look in our favor for public hardship so that we can get the substation built, because we're off by 1% on the land to building ratio. And we're working on that right now. We're hoping to get that done before next week.
Thank you.
Are you done with the presentation at this
I
point?
am.
Okay,
Thank you.
so yeah, Ed, you already kind of jumped ahead there with questions. I want to, anybody else have questions or commentary for?
I'll just say quickly, I really appreciate the update, and I'll say it before and I'll say it again. I think Reading does a great job in service when the linesmen and lines ladies are out there, lineswoman, I believe. And I hope I said it appropriately, and I apologize if I didn't. They do a great job. Those are the guys and gals in the front line, and they do a great job, and I'm really glad that.
We'll pass those sentiments along.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike. I'll just go in line if I may. Very briefly, thank you for the detail. I appreciate the consistency of your presentations to us each year, and really keeping us apprised of what's happening. I mean, we're all customers. But really just having this vision and being able to sort of see what's going on and see that from the time that you sort of came into the picture here at Reading Municipal, I guess the professionalism of the organization and the communication has been improved, so I appreciate that very much. And certainly, I welcome as a consumer hearing 0 to 2%. I know that things ebb and flow and rise and fall, but it's nice to hear that there will be some savings as a result of the efforts that are being put forth. So keep up that good work as well. And I echo the sentiments of my colleague that the boots on the street that are getting the job done certainly are worthy of our appreciation as well, so share that with them. Mr. Carey.
Thank you.
No, I would agree with my colleagues, and thank you for the presentation. It was very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you also for the presentation, very thorough, appreciate it, and I know the residents will all look forward to some future savings with the initiatives you have going on. The only thing that I'm upset about is that clearly you made a mistake on picking this third place one. I think is the best one. This young lady from Wilmington High School's drawing is the best one, in my opinion, but that's just me. Thank you very much.
It was very hard to, it was
Slightly biased.
Yes, I'm
very hard.
very
Very
biased.
hard.
Jeff, do you have any thoughts or commentary that you wish to make from your perspective?
I'm good.
Yeah.
George, as a, I don't want to spot you, but as a member from Wilmington on the Community Advisory Board, do you have any commentary related to what Colleen shared with us?
No, working closely with them, looking forward to this Ballardville project. I think it speaks to the future. It takes some of the stress off of the load off of Wildwood Street. Looking towards some of the vision and future growth in Wilmington that's going to help us all. And I would encourage people to get involved with the Solar Choice program. I think it's a great program. So just working with these guys. So I think we're good.
Thanks for representing us on that board as well.
Well, you allow us to come twice a year, we appreciate that, but certainly if you think of any questions after we leave or whatever, you know, let Jeff know, and, you know, don't wait for me to come the next time. I'm glad to give answers right away and if I don't know, we'll find out.
We'll see how the winter goes, and if we have to have you back sooner, we will.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I will pass along that liaison number, though, because that will be good. But follow us on Twitter, because we try to say, we know this area is out, and we try to give updates of estimated time of restoration. So that's the best place to get the information. Okay? Thank you for having us.
Thank you both. Good evening. So our 8 o'clock scheduled appointment is us, the Board of Selectmen's discussion of the fiscal 19 budget, or preliminary budget discussion. So Jeff, I'm going to let you introduce the impetus or the motivation behind this particular bullet point. It's something that you've done the last couple of years, so
Yes.
I turn it over to you.
So as you may recall from last year, the intent here is to provide the board with an opportunity to offer any general comments or themes that you believe as we begin to finalize the budget that we should bear in mind. The capital improvement budget has been in the works for much of November and is being finalized at this point. I've begun meeting with departments for both their operating budget and their capital budget. So over the course of the next month or so, I will be meeting with every department. Obviously, there are a number of people that are particularly key in assisting me with this. Mike Morris, the town accountant, Dee Casey, the assistant town manager, are two individuals, Pam McKenzie, the treasurer collector. And so just wanted to give the board an opportunity to offer any comments you may have about what you would like to see in the way of either projects or particular guidelines that we should be keeping in mind.
Yeah, very well. Thank you for that introduction. So I have no format to follow here. I certainly, this has been something that the town manager has made us aware of, his desire to get our thoughts or feedback or ideas as he goes into the strong planning mode here. So whoever wants to have their voice heard first, you're up. Take it, Greg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. To the manager, I just want to encourage you to continue to take a conservative approach. I know over the last couple of weeks we've seen presentations on taxes and a number of other things that are including the amount of free cash that the residents are well aware of. And I just want to make sure that knowing all that we continue to take a conservative approach, which I hope you will. and looking at creative ways that we can save money for the residents. And when you meet with the departments, I hope that they'll also take a conservative approach so that when we come to the residents in the spring, we can offer them a very fiscally responsible budget.
I'd just like to say, I know we've had the assessor here, and over the years, I guess that with the past legislation, what is it, Jeff, every year, it's basically full assessment every year with residential homes. I thought she said every 2 years.
Well, it was every 3, it's every 5. You have to have your full assessment, full and fair cash value of property. So everything has to be valued at as close to 100% as possible.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna talk about the commercial side. Are we assessing them like the 100% side, like we're doing with the residents? I mean, I know they pay a lot in this community, but what I'm wondering is, are they being assessed the way they should be assessed?
Certainly, it's our intent.
The
yeah.
same as residents?
Yes.
Maybe to take a little bit curse off the residents a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely. I think every sector, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, personal property, Karen Rashis, the principal assessor, it doesn't matter which category the group falls in. The intent is to assess the property as close to its value as possible. And as you know from the previous presentation, the board, as it has done now for as long as I've been involved, has opted to shift some of the burden. So we're fortunate in Wilmington that we have the diversity of commercial and industrial base, and that is possible because, as you saw in some of the slides that she presented, if we went with a single tax rate, as many communities in the Commonwealth have, the tax burden on residents would be considerably higher.
I totally agree with you on that assessment, being on the board a long time, but I'm not saying a little squeeze here, a little squeeze there. If we can try to, ease it up a little bit on the residents a little bit, and once again, just take a look at the assessed values of commercial real estate in this town. I'm not saying they're underpaying, but just to take a look at it, that's all, in that aspect, so kind of takes a curse off the residents a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. I would agree with Mr. McCoy in regards to the assessment and the value of the house and the commercial real estate. Who, when there's an assessment done on something, who makes sure that that is correct? How does that work? Who oversees the person who does the assessment so that it's not being inflated?
Well, so we hire a company, Vision. There's a couple of different companies out there, at least predominantly Patriot and Vision are the two assessment companies. So they have folks that will go out and look at property and come back with calculations and assessments. Karen looks at many of those. I can't say that she necessarily looks at every single one because we have a considerable number of pieces of property, but looks at enough to get a sense of whether she believes the values make sense. She's been in this business for many, many years, probably 30 anyways, and then prior to that worked for the Department of Revenue, so she's well-schooled in how this process works. Ultimately, the values get sent into the Department of Revenue as part of the process that we just went through, and they have to look at the information and make a decision as to whether they seem reasonable and appropriate.
So these two companies will make recommendations to the assessors? Is that
Well, Vision is the company we contract with. The Patriot is another company competitor that many communities use. We have not used them, but the people that are employed with Vision, personnel will go out and look at some of these properties, and Karen will go out typically on any new construction. She wants to get a sense of what is going on there, and she will go out on other pieces of property, but the Vision person will provide their numbers. She will take a look at them and make a judgment as to whether they seem appropriate. In some cases, she'll have them go back out and take a look, or she'll go out herself to confirm what they're seeing.
Yeah, I've been getting some feedback about, things being overassessed, and I was just curious on how that worked and who oversees or gives advice to the assessor's office, or how they come up with those figures. I would agree with Mr. Bendel, just maintaining that conservative growth as you're moving along. And I don't know how nuts and bolts or nitty-gritty you want to get, but I had some complaints about the gazebo on the 4th of July, that they don't have enough power at those two facilities to plug in a bunch of different, when they have concerts on the common, and they have other groups there that are utilizing those electrical boxes. They seem to blow fuses in both of those places, and I heard that it could be a fairly easy and inexpensive fix, so.
Okay.
I don't
certainly.
want to say to fix this and fix that, but, that was one thing that came back to me several times.
Sure, we'll
but-
certainly take a look at that.
Yeah. But, no, I'm good, just looking forward to seeing the budget presentation.
Yeah, Greg?
Sorry, one more thing came to mind. Mr. Guy reminded me that also, in terms of specifics, if I could, I know there's a lot of talk about different projects that may go on in the future. There's certainly a lot of information coming in from the facilities master plan. One thing I hope we can keep an emphasis on is the maintaining our roads and bridges, our sidewalks. I hear a lot of feedback from residents about wanting to make sure those are upkept, so if we could put an emphasis on that, that'd be great.
Mr. Lau?
Yeah, I agree with all of my colleagues, especially on the assessments and being fiscally conservative. I just want to add one more thing. Jeff, I know that we have some expenditures that we need to make to maintain the retirement plans that we have. Is there a plan to put extra money into those that we owe into?
So the pension liability, which I've talked about a number of times, every community in, I think in the Commonwealth, but certainly in Middlesex Retirement, has a pension liability that we're assessed. And so, I have not come up with a firm number at this point, but I would expect to continue the practice of setting money aside, and also similar to what many homeowners do on their mortgage, is paying an additional amount. So you recall the last couple of years, we've put an additional amount forward to beyond the annual assessment that we paid on Middlesex to
That's
try
what I
to.
was asking.
Yeah, so that's something I'm
Hoping to do that again.
I'd like to do that. Yes.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of things. It's consistent with, I think, the message that you've probably heard here is the maintenance of this conservative approach that has served us well for decades now, that you have continued. In the same context that I say that, however, that also the challenge is to look for ways to invest or to do new things that aren't already in the budget, but do so in a way that doesn't put additional drain. We want to stretch every dollar, every cent of taxpayer money to its extreme to make sure that it's getting used effectively and efficiently for the benefit of the town today and as well as for the future. And it's the future that I wanted to talk about a little bit. Specifically as it relates to commercial and industrial or economic development specifically. We talked a fair amount here today about the tax rates and the fact that our residential tax rate or tax bills can be reduced or mitigated largely when we have a very strong commercial and industrial base. Because of the 1.75 shift, if we have a strong and robust commercial industrial base and can shift to a larger base, that ipso facto means that there's less of the burden that the residences take on. So from a tax perspective alone, having a robust and healthy commercial industrial base makes sense. Above and beyond that, just the creation of just economic well-being, jobs, opportunities for residences, for increased educational like grants. So what I'm getting at is sometimes these large campuses like Analog or in Burlington, Oracle, and some of the larger enterprises will be contributors into the school system or into the municipality itself, just in sort of general benefit. So unless I'm not aware of something, I'm fairly certain that we as a town do not have a strategic, proactive, go-to-market philosophy or practice of making ourselves known, of wooing some of these larger type commercial enterprises to Wilmington. And Wilmington, as we all know here at this table, has so much to offer. We obviously have tremendous proximity to Route 93 and 128, 495, and the Route 38 corridor. So there's ample access for an employee staff to live in the suburbs and work in the suburbs. It's less expensive for those large campuses. I think of organizations like I already mentioned Analog, but Pfizer and GE and Hewlett-Packard and companies like that. We can headquarter and accommodate those type of companies in Wilmington and be the beneficiaries while they also are the beneficiaries. So I believe and I feel strongly that we as a community, as a town, as a government, should be putting our best foot forward. And I don't have any specific proposals to make other than, frankly, I would like for us to start to really put some meat behind this idea, because truthfully, Tewksbury has done it, Billerica has done it, Burlington has done it. There are regional associations, the Middlesex 3, which is a consortium of towns that are located along Route 3. They've gathered together and they realize that they have benefit when they join forces and recruit those kind of enterprises along Route 3. They all benefit and they all reap the benefits of it. So, these communities have seen the merits of the kind of thing that I'm discussing and have taken action. I feel like it's time for us to get on board these large campuses, the large companies that I'm referring to, as they're looking for places to set up shop. They're going to be having, and probably are, already engaging in conversation with those towns or communities or organizations that are going to them, that are being proactive about saying, hey, come and see what we have to offer you. And so if we're just waiting and hoping that they're going to come see us, I'm afraid we're going to get left behind. So I said a lot of stuff there. What I'd like to see is is there a way, whether it's from a budgetary standpoint or just from a strategic standpoint, for us to create an economic development committee, perhaps a member from this board and a member from the finance committee and someone from planning, and really start to put the bones together or the structure together of a strategic plan to go to market. And really start to recruit some of these larger companies that would be beneficial to our community, but also help decrease our residential tax base. So that's just a lot of words there, and we can talk more about it offline, but that's where my mind is. And we've talked about it before. I just wanted to share it again.
Chairman,
Sir.
if I may, I really appreciate you bringing that up. I think that all of us have probably talked to somebody about a particular place that might be sitting vacant, or a place that maybe have great potential for a large company, like you mentioned. And any way we can help attract businesses to Wilmington that will help out taxpayers, I think that would be very beneficial. So I look forward to hearing more about that as well, and whatever I can do to help.
Thank you, Greg.
Mr. Chairman, I'll volunteer
Right on.
to be part of that.
We'll get there.
If I could just, Mr. Chairman, if I could just touch upon it, I don't think Jeff said that, but I think Jeff would know. Many, many years ago, we were the tri-town off Ballardville Street, Tewksbury, Wilmington, and Andover. We talked about economic development. And we did that in that area. Obviously, I'm not saying we have all the property in Wilmington, but we did that to take a look. But I totally agree, you need to expand. But we got to take a look at the political landscape and also the landscape on Main Street. There's a big difference between Lowell Street, Main Street, and Wilmington as compared to Main Street and Tewksbury. It goes forever. We don't want to, we'd like to have this little town, small town feel. But I think if we're going to do anything on Main Street or Lowell Street, you got to look at it and big difference between the two different animals, Tewksbury and Wilmington. And I know some people in Tewksbury aren't crazy about their so-called economic development out on Main Street, and people are looking at Condo City. You drive right down there, right across that, I forget to get right across the Cheesy Pizza, right down the street from Mahoney's. A lot of folks not too crazy about that, and they still haven't finished the front. So they work the back to the front, and then when it gets to the front, they say, oh my God, what happened here? So we need to take a look at that and learn from them as well, on
It's
the
interesting.
negative.
I appreciate that, Mike, because, and Greg, you said it too, just brainstorming here a little bit was, on social media sometimes, people will say, hey, what would you like to see in the old Staples? Remember when that was going on, right when Staples closed? And folks would chime in and saying, why doesn't the town have a Whole Foods? Why doesn't the town go get, Trader Joe's? Thank you. And I think the notion was that the town was going out and talking to these companies saying, hey, come to us. And I don't think that was really the activity that was going on. We were hoping maybe that some of these companies would view us, but unless I'm mistaken,
Well, yeah, let me make a couple of points, I guess. Certainly, I think it's fair to say that we do not have individuals that are going out and soliciting businesses in that fashion. But I would say that we certainly, Valerie and her staff, even to some measure, Paul Looney, when individuals come in, as they regularly do, and are looking at different pieces of property, we provide them with as much information as possible about particular locations. I would just note, as an example, one of the areas that we have looked at specifically with regard to a prospect of redevelopment in a more neighborhood district type fashion was the area in North Wilmington around the train tracks there by the Jefferson Road in that area. Valerie had a meeting last year, it was probably about a year ago, maybe in October or thereabouts of 2016, where she invited residents, individuals in the area to try to get a sense of what people thought would be appropriate in that area. And my understanding, I was not able to participate in the meeting, was that the overwhelming sense was we don't want any change. So one of the things we have to be mindful of is, being able to identify locations where people are inclined to consider redevelopment.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a lot of things to wrestle with. We also have a master plan that a lot of time, energy, and I guess some expense was put into developing. And while it's now sort of, I don't want to say outdated, but it's old. But still, the master plan did come out of that work, and the master plan talked about the future, and the future is now the present. So we have that as our boilerplate to look at and say, what's the mindset of the residences. So anyway, I think it bears the opportunity for continued research, development, and discussion, in hopes that we can continue moving the ball forward. This notion of leaving neighborhoods or this area, North Wilmington over near Jefferson Road, leaving it as it is, okay, but let's not close our minds to the opportunity of improvement. Maybe there's, in the absence of seeing the potential for some new ideas and some new creative ways to use that space, that perhaps collaboration between commercial folks and residential, maybe the neighbors in that area, once they visualize the concepts, they may change their mind. But I think I would like for us to continue at least trying to move that ball forward, whether it's there or other places.
Yeah, I would agree, and I certainly, the underlying theme which the board has certainly given me here is, I believe, right on target. We can't, just because Wilmington happens to be blessed with 4 exits off of Route 93, and we are proximate to Boston, the universities, and all the resources that Boston and the metro area has to offer, we can't just assume that's going to lead us to bigger and better things. I think we need to be participants in, as all these communities are, they're all competing for jobs and businesses, and we need to be in that game as well.
Indeed, that's my message, yes.
Yeah, I just think one thing I want to be clear about, the emphasis should be on how can we attract businesses to places that we already have existing that are vacant at the time. So maybe not so much a new development of places, but so much as let's fill the places we already have.
Let's fill Chili's, let's fill the Sonic, right, but these empty lots are, nobody wants them.
Right, and just to go back to what the chairman said, you also talked about having some sort of component with industry that's already in existence too, as well. Didn't you mention that too? Like you said, analog and a few others, putting them together? I mean,
Well, no, I use those names as examples of the kinds
To
of
bring
companies.
in, do you agree?
Yeah, analog's already here, but, you know, when I'm talking about large corporate enterprises, I was using them as examples of businesses we already know. What are the businesses we don't know? I don't know. You know, I'm not an expert in that regard, but, you know, there's lots of businesses setting up shop in Cambridge and paying top dollar for real estate in there, and maybe they might be interested to see what we could offer them up in Ballardvale or in
that's
a
a
more
good idea.
industrial area.
Well, it's free, so if we can get people together to have conversations, it's free, that could be effective for residents.
Yes, indeed. Anyone else? Anything else? Okay, Jeff?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So we'll jump into communications, I think, whenever you have that ready to roll.
Under communications, memorandum to the board about the Lowell Street sewer project. The work, and I did not have an opportunity to speak with Jamie McGaldy today, but my understanding is that the work should be wrapping up there this week. There's actually two different activities going on while the sewer line was being run. The gas company also took the opportunity. They were looking to replace some line, and rather than having to go through two different efforts of retrenching and so on, they were granted that opportunity. So my understanding is that their work will be completed later in the week, and the work for the sewer line will be completed, if it hasn't been completed today, certainly in the next day or two. And then work on the road by the end of the week should be completed for this construction season. There will be some ongoing activity at 168 Lowell Street. There's a pump station that has to go in there with the expectation that in the spring, final inspections will take place, and ultimately the town, once we're satisfied that the system it works, we will be looking to take over ownership of the pump station.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, instead of bringing it up under new business, I wanted to talk about this if I could. Well, Jeff, I know you're going to be leading in, or maybe talking to Butters Row, but I'd like to touch upon the Lowell Street project. If you know, I don't know how you want to do that, Mr. Chairman. I can just say right now, it just seems that it's the holiday season. Simultaneously, we're working on the Butters Row Bridge, and obviously we're doing Lowell Street, and it's been kind of a nightmare for a lot of folks. I don't know about you folks, but I received a lot of calls, whether I'm in Market Basket and calls at the house, that people are really, really not happy in what's going on. I mean, I know you need progress, but just at these times. And I'm just wondering, what are we gonna do? Like, right now, there's like a dip in the road. We didn't expect a snowstorm. We're gonna get below freezing weather. What happens, right now there's dips. What happens come springtime? Is the developer gonna be responsible for any repairs? Because obviously, most of the hot top plants, I would assume it's just about shut off. And the other thing I thought November 15 was like the cutoff time to get permits to do road openings. And, you know, I just want to talk about that for a minute, if we could. That's all. I got other things I'd like to say, but I just...
Well, this work had been scheduled to take place in this late fall, late fall, essentially. The any road defects, the contractor is going to be responsible if it requires some cold patch, as you say. I don't know many of the treatment plant, patch plants are shut down for the season, but they'll be responsible for making sure there's no serious road defects. And then ultimately, when the next spring, there'll be a final course that will have to be put down once all the work is buttoned up.
All right, I just raised those points because, you know, what's happening is happening. We just got two projects going on at the same time, and it seems like there's a little detour, and I know some folks aren't, you know, crazy about the detours, but just seeing both at once, I think caught us by surprise a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean,
Not that it did, but it
it's
is
always
now.
difficult to engage in these kind of projects on a major thoroughfare, but I think in the long run, it's better to have, if there's going to be infrastructure replacements, better to have both outfits out there doing it at one time versus closing it up and then 6 months to a year later having the gas company come back and tear it up again to, you know, put another line in.
I'm not talking about the gas. I totally understand the gas and the sewer, but
Okay.
with Butters Road Bridge being constructed now, those
Yeah.
poor folks got to go all the way down to the center, and some of these, now you got to stop some areas off Lower Street, Woburn Street, and it's just, that's what I'm saying, those two.
Right.
Yeah. That's all.
Okay.
Well, if I may, the observation I have in response to that is I think the Butters Row Bridge wasn't really something we saw coming. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but, you know, it was just, it turned into a project that it wasn't intended to be, and it's DOT's purview, so it's kind of hard to control for that. We just have to, fortunately, it's going to be a safe bridge, at least until they can replace it, but that's the nature of what they're doing now, is just making sure that it's safe.
All right, thank you.
Next, speaking of Butters Row Bridge, so this, I believe was a question that came from one of the board members, just wanted to make sure everybody was up to speed. The bridge decking, a good portion of the work has been completed, and the work, they're looking to, or we're doing some work today, subject to the weather. I have not talked to Jamie today to find out whether the work was done. They're looking to meet their December 13th deadline, which, as you recall, was pushed back from December 8th. So weather permitting, it should be completed by the 13th, and then the bridge would be reopened for service. Next is correspondence with regard to water testing that has been done in the schools. You'll recall last year, the town, through the efforts of George Hooper, obtained a grant from the DEP to look at testing for lead and copper in all of the schools. And we went through an extensive process of taking water samples in all the schools, and doing that collection and having the water samples tested. There were a number of instances where results came back at or above the action level. Those various issues were addressed at the time. The Department of Environmental Protection recommends that all cities and towns engage in this water sampling once every 3 years. We've decided to be a bit more proactive and do it every year. And so the testing was done late November, and there were some results that came back, none on the copper side, but we did have 12 instances in which the rating for lead levels came back at or above the action level. And I would just note that by saying action level, it doesn't mean specifically that there's a threat to someone's health, but it certainly is a red flag to indicate that we need to take action to ultimately remedy the situation. So in the 12 instances where the action level was hit, all of those faucets have been taken offline. And the next step will be to retest to see if there was any, potential issue with the sample that was taken. If it continues to be, if these results continue to come back in the same manner, then I know George is going to be talking to DEP as well as the MWRA, who has assisted us in the past in terms of providing advice on what steps can be taken, whether it's replacement of particular fixtures or perhaps taking them offline. So it's a work in progress.
You mentioned in one of your letters here, I'm trying to see who wrote it, sorry. But the specific comment that I highlighted that is worth repeating, I think, is that there is no lead in the town's water supply.
That's right.
And I think that's really an important message to convey to those that are listening to this. There is no lead in the town's water supply. These are unique and isolated circumstances and specific to individual fixtures in these locations. And the town is taking a very proactive and aggressive approach towards making sure to mitigate any long-term exposure.
Okay, next is correspondence from Jane Handy, the Director of Accounts. What is provided in front of you is really the follow-up from the actions that the board took at your meeting in November. So the breakdown here shows the various categories of the levy. Residential, you'll see the tax rate of $14.41, and the of the total levy, a little over almost $48 million is borne by the residential sector. Commercial, $32.46 is the rate, and almost $5.3 million is borne by that category. And then finally, industrial at 22.8, and the personal property. So it breaks down the various categories of value that are being taxed. Correspondence from Sarah Clark, with regard to the expiring license from Comcast, just noting that the license is due to expire and reminding us that we are required to provide them with an updated copy of the license. In fact, we did receive signed copies of the license from Comcast. As you recall, when the board authorized the renewal and signed off on it, copies were sent to Comcast, so we do have now signed copies, and a copy has been sent off to the Department of Telecommunications and Cable, so that issue has been addressed. We have correspondence from National Grid, and this is talking about their yearly operations plan. They're responsible for making sure that their various rights-of-way are maintained, and they provide information on how interested individuals can go online and access that information. They're also making us aware so that any sensitive areas we may have, we can notify them so that any efforts on their part to do any trimming or use of herbicides would not impact any of our sensitive areas. Then we have a couple of pieces of correspondence here from Verizon. This has to do with channel lineup changes. One notes that on January 1, the provider for Go For It, channel 155, will replace the home shopping program with a faith and family-based entertainment program, and indicates that the customers are being notified beginning December 7th. Similar correspondence This is to inform residents and the board about that as of December 8th, Bloomberg TV, which is channel 605 HD and 104 SD, will be removed from the FiOS TV channel lineup. And again, they're providing information to their customers about these changes.
Which brings us to some board to consider items. The first one on our agenda is the board to consider a representative from this board to serve on the school superintendent screening committee. Jeff, do you want to give us a synopsis of what we've been presented?
Yes, I received an email from the school department with regard to the process that the school committee is and will be going through to hire a new school superintendent. And part of that process involves establishing a screening committee to review initial applicants and ultimately recommend a slate of candidates to the school committee. So as part of this process, for that initial slate of candidates, the open meeting law does allow for a screening committee to go through and interview candidates in executive session, and then ultimately any finalists that come out of that process would need to be, that the process would be conducted in a public forum. So the first, one of the offers that was made was that a member of the Board of Selectmen, if so interested, or Finance Committee could serve as a member of the screening committee. In addition, I've been invited to serve.
Thank you very much. And so, ultimately, I would love for a representative of this board to sit on that and have, obviously, the school superintendent is a role in our community that carries a lot of weight. Schools in Wilmington and really in every community are a large part of the overall community itself, and certainly it's a large part of the budget. So I think that we have a vested interest at this board in making sure that the best pool of candidates is put forth. So I had a personal feeling about who I'd like to see on that board, but I don't know if anyone else has anything to say. I see Mr. Bendel's hand going up.
Sure, I just want to put it out there, I'd be willing to step up and represent the board on this committee. Having served in a school system for over 10 years, a different school system, I might add. I wouldn't have any conflicts. So I'd be willing to if it was the pleasure of the board.
Well, doggone it, that's exactly what I was hoping to hear. No, I'm glad to hear you say that, Greg. I appreciate that. Any thoughts from, any desire by anybody else to sit on this capacity?
I would like to see Mr. Bendel be our choice to serve in that committee.
Thank you. Indeed. Yeah, Greg, thank you for mentioning that. I mean, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, Greg is a professional educator. He works at the Shawshene Technical School, so there is no conflict, but as a professional educator, I think Greg would and does possess the right capacity and knowledge and skill sets to be able to lend his voice in a contributory way to that committee. So, so do we take a vote? Do we?
I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Bendel's recommendation to be on the subcommittee for the superintendent search.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Already had. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
I look forward to your reports back on that. Good luck.
Thank you.
I will advise the school department of that tomorrow.
Thank you. The next board to consider item is the approval of lots and lots of licenses for alcoholic beverages, automatic amusement, billiard room, Class 1 vehicle sales, Class 2 vehicle sales, common victualler, and entertainment. So, forgive me, Jeff, I've forgotten what the typical manner in which we handle this is.
So my recommendation is that the licenses be brought up by category, and I can certainly read off the names of the various licensees, and then the board, if you are so inclined, can either vote in the aggregate to accept these. I have recommendations on each of these. The recommendations in large measure come from the police chief And then my suggestion, just from a logistical standpoint, is that all the signing can be done, if these are approved, in my office at the conclusion of the meeting.
That's okay with me. Anyone else have any objections to that? Very well. So if that's the case, then do you want me to read what we're doing, or do you want to just jump right ahead?
So, yeah, I'll start off. So the first category, we have 2 all-alcohol licenses. These are the club licenses, one being Fordham Associates, Inc., DBA Aleppo Temple, 99 Fordham Road. The second, 4982 Building Associates, Inc., DBA Knights of Columbus, 112 Middlesex Avenue. The recommendation from the police chief is for approval.
I would accept a motion to approve those 2 club licenses.
So moved.
Made,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to abstain from the Knights of Columbus, having worked there in the past.
Okay, thank you. That being said, all in favor? Actually, so should we take them up separately?
Probably separately.
Yeah, let
in
me
this
take up
case.
separately. Let's do Fordham Associates individually. So all in favor of Fordham Associates? That's unanimous. Those in favor of 4982 Building Association? 4 with 1 abstain. Thank you, Greg.
Next, we have 5 all-alcohol package store licenses. The first, Average LLC, DBA Colonial Park Liquors, 35 Lowell Street, Unit 9. Then 211 Lowell Street Corp., DBA Eastgate Liquors, 211J Lowell Street. ShopRite Liquors, Inc., DBA Eli's Country Store, 381 Middlesex Ave. Super Target Liquor of Massachusetts, DBA Target, 210 Ballardvale Street. N.R. Wilmington, Inc., DBA Wilmington Plaza Wine and Spirit, 258 Main Street. And the police chief indicates, upon review, the Wilmington Police Department recommends approval of the 2018 package store license renewal requests submitted by those companies.
Move to grant the request.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Unanimous for the package store licenses.
There are 9 all-alcohol restaurant licenses. Restaurant of Boston, LLC, DBA 99 Restaurant and Pub, number 3007599, 144 Lowell Street. A&C Stone, Inc., DBA Golden Ginger Restaurant, 225 Main Street. Suman Berry, Inc., DBA Michael's Place, 110 Lowell Street. Pacific Sunshine, Inc., DBA Pacific Grove, 211 E Lowell Street, AKA 217 Lowell Street. Ponchos, Inc., DBA Ponchos Cantina, Unit 7, 206 Ballardvale Street. BGP Tavern, LLC, DBA Red Heat Tavern, 300 Lowell Street. C&C Restaurant Group, LLC, DBA Rocco's Restaurant, 193 Main Street. LLM Inc., DBA Tremezzo's, 2 Lowell Street. Wilmington's East Coast Diner Inc., DBA The East Coast Diner, 203 Lowell Street. Again, the police chief, his department has reviewed these requests, and he recommends approval of the 2018 restaurant license renewal requests submitted for these locations and businesses.
Move to grant the request.
Accept that motion.
Second.
I have a second. Is there discussion?
One question. The East Coast Diner, they're not even in business yet. Why are we giving them a license?
They've requested a license. There's no reason as long as they've paid for the license, there's no reason why the board is prohibited from granting it. I think the expectation is that now that the sewer is going through, that they'll be able to begin construction.
Thank you.
Mr. McCoy, did you have something?
Yeah, I support all the liquor license, and if I can, Bev, when the time, Mr. Chairman, through you, just abstain from Michael's Place.
So with a motion made, can I ask for an amendment to the motion to accept all of these with the exception of Michael's Place, and we'll take that one up separately at the end? Yes, Greg?
That sounds good.
All right, and Kevin, you seconded that, so that being said, all in favor of that? That is unanimous. The approval of Michael's Place, I would accept a motion.
So moved.
Made, I'll second it. All in favor of Michael's Place? We have 4 and 1 abstain. Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
We have automatic amusement devices. This would be for K1 Speed, 40 Fordham Road. There are 13 devices. In addition, they have at K1 Speed, Inc., 1 billiard room, 4 tables. The police chief indicates under review, the Wilmington Police Department recommends approval of the 2018 automatic amusement device and billiard room license renewal request submitted by K1 Speed.
So this is just for the automatic amusement devices, the 13 now, right? Because we have billiard separately.
Right, you can take those up separately.
Automatic amusement device license, 13 pieces for K1. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Made.
Second.
Seconded, Mr. Loud. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Billiard room.
Again, that was recommended for approval by the police chief. 4 tables.
Now it's 4 tables, was 2.
It was 2.
Four
That was-
tables at K1.
So moved.
Motion's made by Ed. Seconded by Mr. Coy. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Next, we have Class 1 vehicle licenses. There are 2. One is Doobie Auto Group, Inc., DBA Bill Doobie Hyundai, 271 Main Street. The second is Semino Automotive, Inc., DBA Cornerstone Automotive and Cornerstone Mitsubishi, 580 Main Street. Recommendations from the police chief. Upon review, the Wilmington Police Department recommends renewal of the following Class 1 garage license renewal applications for both applicants.
Very well. Class 1 licenses for the 2 dealerships.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Under Class 2 vehicle sales, there are 10 applicants. Wilmington Shell Inc., DBA Advanced Auto Technologies, 779 Woburn Street. B&L Enterprises, 880 Main Street. Charlie's Auto Sales, 611 Main Street. Forest Auto Repair, 600 Main Street. Heavy Equipment Connection Inc., 239 Andover Street. Imperial Auto LLC, 845 Woburn Street, Suite D. J&E Service Corp., 619 Rear Main Street. Triple Nickel Auto Body and Repair LLC, 555 Main Street. Unique Auto Care Inc., 611 Main Street. NEA Inc., DBA Z&S Gas and Service, 603 Main Street. Again, the police chief indicates upon review, the Wilmington Police Department recommends renewal of the following Class 2 vehicle sales license renewal applications for 2018, and the 9 applicants are cited here.
Very well. For the Class 2 licenses, as just read by Jeff, I would accept a motion.
So moved.
Made by whom? Is that you, Mr. McCoy?
Yes, thank you.
Motion. And seconded by Greg. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Next, we have common victular licenses. There are 40 applications. First is 99 Restaurant of Boston, LLC, DBA 99 Restaurant and Pub, number 30075, 144 Lowell Street. Ann Jam Corp., DBA AJ's Kitchen, 162 Lowell Street. Fordham Associates, Inc., DBA Aleppo Temple, 99 Fordham Road, Masteron Corporation and LBK LLC, DBA Burger King, 280 Lowell Street, Hung Tae, Inc., DBA China Walk, 329 Main Street, Krish Convenience, Inc., DBA The Corner Store, 296 Shawshene Ave, Suite 1, Country Chef Restaurant, 139 Main Street, Adam Donuts, Inc., DBA Dunkin' Donuts, 211 Lowell Street, DJQ Donuts, LLC, DBA Dunkin' Donuts, 66S Concord Street, Hannon Donuts, LLC, DBA Dunkin' Donuts, 357 Middlesex Avenue, Jane Marie Donuts, LLC, DBA Dunkin' Donuts, 207 Ballardvale Street, C&C Donuts, Inc., DBA Dunkin' Donuts, 195 Main Street, Wilmington Donuts, Inc., DBA Dunkin' Donuts, 329 Main Street, A&C Stone, Inc., DBA Golden Ginger Restaurant, 225 Main Street, 579 Main Street Donut Shop, Inc., DBA Heavenly Donuts, 579 Main Street, Jalev Enterprises, LLC, DBA Wilmington House of Pizza, 325 Main Street, Jasmine Cuisine, Inc., DBA Jasmine Cuisine Restaurant, 35 Lowell Street, K1 Speed, Inc., 40 Fordham Road, 4982 Building Associates, Inc., DBA Knights of Columbus, 112 Middlesex Avenue, Dulsac LLC, DBA La Rosas, Unit 211, 269 Main Street, T.H. McCoy Restaurant Group, LLC, DBA McDonald's Restaurant, 212 Main Street, Sunburia, Inc., DBA Michael's Place, 110 Lowell Street, Modash Cafe, 16 Upton Drive, Nick's Pizza, Roast Beef and Subs, 331 Main Street, Pacific Sunshine, Inc., DBA Pacific Grove, 211E Lowell Street, AKA 217 Lowell Street, Ponchos, Inc., DBA Ponchos Cantina, Unit 7206 Ballardvale Street, PR Restaurants, LLC, DBA Panera Bread, 228 Main Street, KQ, Inc., DBA Peter's Pizza, Roast Beef and Seafood, 2 Lowell Street, BJP Tavern, LLC, DBA Red Heat Tavern, 300 Lowell Street, St. Moses, Inc., DBA Rizzo's Roast Beef and Pizza, 3R Church Street, Units 1 and 2, C&C Restaurant Group, Inc., DBA Rocco's Restaurant, 193 Main Street, Charlie's 2 Corporation, DBA Samard's Super Beef, 279 Main Street, Starbucks Corporation, DBA Starbucks Coffee, number 11757, 253 Main Street, Kumar's Store, Inc., DBA Subway, number 56883, 66U Concord Street, 337 Main Street, Inc., DBA Subway, number 66331, 337 Main Street, Watertown Enterprises, DBA Subway, 206 Ballardvale Street, Unit 2, CDC Diner, DBA Sunnyside Cafe, 2 Jefferson Road, Wilmington Sweet Pizza, LLC, DBA Sweet Pizza, 206 Ballardvale Street, Unit 4, Target Corporation, 210 Ballardvale Street, LLM, Inc., DBA Tremezzo's, 2 Lowell Street. And the,
Mr. Chairman, I've noticed a couple places missing. What happens to those that haven't applied?
I'm sorry, which ones have,
There's a Dunkin' Donuts on Lowell Street that's not on here, because there's 2 or 3 of them. There's one at the Shell Station, there's one at Lucci's, and there's one at the Mobile Station.
I think you forgot Pizza Mia.
Pizza Mia's not on there. What about the Starbucks at the Dunkin', at the Target? They're not there. So,
There's also the East Coast Diner, who applied for
yeah,
the
East Coast Diner.
alcohol, but
Yeah.
not the,
So there's more missing. Because the first thing I looked at was the 6 Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm like, wait a minute, we have more than that in town, because everyone complains about them. And just sitting here looking at them, and there's a few missing. There's a few restaurants missing.
I don't know, Beverly?
Common victual is strictly for eating on premises, so some of the other Dunkin' Donuts, they may not have enough tables or seats to be eating there. That explains a lot of them. get that. So when they're ready, they'll come in for common victual at that time.
So some of the Dunkin' Donuts,
Right.
like the ones at Mobile, it's
Yeah,
just a
the mobile
takeout.
and the shell, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two right there. But
Thank you,
there's,
Beverly.
Uptown Pizza Mia in North Wilmington, I don't see them on here.
No tables in there.
Yeah, there is. Standing tables. Standing tables.
Scratch ticket tables.
Yeah, scratch ticket
Oh,
table. Does that count? What do they have?
We had, so we,
high tops?
There was a change in
the bylaw, yeah, I think the,
yeah, we have to catch up with that.
AJ's Kitchen, they definitely have seats in there.
they were on the list, yep.
They're at the
AJ's,
top.
Second
Yeah.
one
I didn't see
on
them.
the top.
Great place.
Yep.
All right, thank you for clarifying that.
Good catch, though, Ed.
So there, I know that there were a couple of businesses on here that members of the board may wish to recuse yourselves from.
Why don't we first take a vote on all of them with the exception of Michael's Place? Can we do that? No, we can't do that.
And the Knights.
Oh, and, all right, so, yeah, all right, we will single out the Knights, 4982, Knights of Columbus, and Michael's Place, and all the others are the vote that we'll take.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Loud, Mr. Kyra seconded, all in favor? That's unanimous. All in favor of 4982, Knights of Columbus?
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
I'm going to say Mr. McCoy made the motion and Mr. Loud seconded it, because you both did both. So in favor of 4982, 4 and 1 abstain, Greg abstained, and a motion for Michael's Place.
Make that motion.
Ed has made it, I'll
Second.
second it. And all in favor of Michael's Place, 4 and Mr. McCoy abstained. Thank you.
Let's see, we have- Then the final category is the 4 entertainment licenses. We have Pacific Sunshine Inc., DBA Pacific Grove, 211E Lowell Street, AKA 217 Lowell Street, BJP Tavern LLC, DBA Red Heat Tavern, 300 Lowell Street, C&C Restaurant Group, DBA Rocco's Restaurant, 193 Main Street, LLM Inc., DBA Tremezzo's, 2 Lowell Street. And again, the police chief has reviewed these, recommends approval of each of the license applications.
So I would accept a motion for the entertainment licenses.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. That was Mr. Loud and Mr. Bendel. All in favor? Unanimous.
Just
I'm sorry.
curious question for the entertainment license. Does Aleppo, the Shriners and the Knights of Columbus have to be on here for entertainment licenses? Because they have, I don't know, do they have shows and events and,
Yeah, I don't believe so. I mean, I can check on that, but I don't, yeah, I mean, I don't believe that the types of events that they have would fall under the entertainment license, but let me check.
I'm just curious.
I think the club license, probably, I bet you if we read the language of the club license that we
I think that
covers that.
covers it.
Yeah. You had one more thing to do here.
Yes, you have a separate request here. This is for the board to consider a Sunday entertainment license for K1 Speed. And this is as a result of their go-karts, because they have go-karts there. And this license is not renewable. It has to be applied for each year.
forgive me, are they currently running Sunday at all, or are they looking
Yes.
for?
Yeah, they
Oh,
have,
so this
they
is
have
just a
one.
renewal of their Sunday. Forgive
Well,
me.
I mean, it's a new license. It specifically states here that they are not renewable, but they have to apply each year for a new license, so.
Oh. Okay, I understand. So it's a public entertainment on Sunday license for K1 Speed for 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Any recommendations at all?
There is no recommendations. I am not aware of any issues at that facility.
We'll presume that it's a positive. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
By Mr. Loud?
Second.
And seconded by Mr. McCoy. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
You just sign.
I think we have concluded the business according to the agenda. We are in public comments. Anyone? Going once? Very well. Yeah, I know. Cricket. New business or items not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Anybody want to start? Mr. Loud starts.
Typical this time of the meeting, I get to shout out a veteran. This time, I'm going to shout out to James Banda. He was a World War II Army veteran, former town council. A room at the library is named after him, and he's a Purple Heart recipient. So thank you for your service, Mr. Banda, and to all veterans. I also want to thank, I know we had a little tiny storm the last couple of days, one coming up. I really feel that the DPW in Wilmington is above average and better than most in our surrounding communities, because I really want to shout out to them. They do a phenomenal job in this town. They work long, late hours, time away from their family, and they deserve everything that they get, every accolade that I can give them and anyone can give them. So I want to thank the DPW. On top of that, along those same lines, the fire department and the police department do an outstanding job for this community. So when you see them out and about, just thank them. So that's all I really have to say. So thank you. And I also want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you.
Mr. McCoy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to take a few minutes. I brought it to the attention of the manager and to the membership. I know we're coming up into January, and the manager, we usually have 3 meetings talking about the budget. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend that. A week from tomorrow, I'm going into surgery. I'm having a total hip replacement. I want folks to know that because, you know, normally I'd definitely be here in January. And to be totally honest with you, I had an opportunity to get it done in October, but I made some promises to some folks that live in the area relative to the detox center and people town-wide. So I put that off until December. And I just wanted to mention that. And so when everyone's home hugging their pillow Christmas time and Santa Claus comes down, slides down the chimney, I'll meet him with a little bit of a walker. So I'll just try to do my best. And I'd just like to give a shout out to my wife, who I love very much. She thanked Mr. Bendel. She brought some goodies tonight because today's my birthday. And so tonight, as we depart into the manager's room, we're going to be signing the licenses. So we're here to share it with the goodies. And Beverly, you're welcome too, because you always give my son Chris the Kit Kats. And I'll tell you, you guys, you always get my good angles. So WCTV, and I'd give it to the press, but I don't want to try to bribe you a little bit. But I just want to just say that. So I look forward to coming back shortly thereafter. And I just thought I'd need to let people know that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, no, thank you, Mr. McCoy. We wish you well. I know I speak for the entire board, but they certainly can speak for themselves, but we certainly wish you well through that, and hopeful that after you're healed up from that, you'll feel better than ever. You'll be dancing the jitterbug in no time. I want to I'll go in line, to compliment really the town, all involved, residents as well as DPW, as well as the 4th of July committee, as well as the public safety folks for the tree lighting on the common last weekend. It was great, and as it always is. I and my family enjoyed it, and then made our way over to the Festival of Trees at Villanova Hall. And again, that was great too. So WOW does a super job over there. So kudos to everyone who participated in that. I think everyone had a good time, brought in the holidays in style, and raised some funds for a great organization. So that was wonderful. Also wanted to do a quick shout out to the police and fire department for somehow getting a hold of Santa Claus and getting him to spend the better part of a day touring our great town over the course of Sunday. I know a lot of folks were posting about it. He came through my neighborhood and was up and down on Lawrence Street, and we heard the sirens going, and I thought, oh, there must be something really big going on, and then I realized it was Santa coming through. So kudos, thank you to Santa for making Wilmington a priority, and thank you to the police and fire for making that happen. Mr. McCoy, happy birthday. Forgot to say that. That was a big deal. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Hanukkah begins tomorrow, so happy Hanukkah to those that are celebrating that, and of course, a blessed and Merry Christmas to all of my friends and neighbors. Mr. Carroll.
I believe Mr. Shampoo said it all.
I'm trying to get it all in there.
Mike, happy birthday, and good luck with your surgery coming up. I too agree with my colleagues in regards to the DPW and the first responders, top notch. And there was a lot of happenings with the tree lighting and the Festival of Trees, and want to mention Breakfast with Santa, that the Sons of Italy stepped up this year and took over for the Recreation Department and had a wonderful event at the Knights of Columbus Hall. It's just a magical time of year, and just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year.
Geez, you guys covered it all here. Well, thank you, Mr. McCoy. Happy birthday to you. Wish you well in your speedy recovery. I also want to compliment Mr. Kyra and the Sons of Italy. It was a wonderful breakfast with Santa. It was my daughter's first time meeting Santa, and although you wouldn't know by her reaction, I think she liked it. But and also, we were fortunate enough to have Santa Claus come through our neighborhood too, thanks to our police and fire department. That was very nice, and certainly I echo the comments on the WOW. For the Festival of Trees, just fantastic. And the 4th of July Committee, I compliment them as well, and certainly want to thank our DPW for, they got off to an early start this year. Hopefully it'll be quiet after this, but I doubt it. And so I thank them for what they'll do. Go Patriots, and I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg. Jeff, important dates, if you would.
The next important date coming up is Saturday, the 16th, special town meeting, Wilmington High School, auditorium, 10:30 a.m. Christmas, December 25th is Christmas Day, town offices closed. January 1st is New Year's Day, town offices will be closed. The curbside collection of Christmas trees runs from January 2nd to the 12th. Next Board of Selectmen's meeting is January 8th, Town Hall, Room 9, 7 p.m. January 15th, the town offices will be closed in honor of Martin Luther King Day. January 16th is the Secret Lives of Teens, Wilmington High School Auditorium, 7 p.m. This is a presentation which I think is well worth attending for those of you who have teens in your household. January 22nd is the Board of Selectmen's meeting, Town Hall, Room 9, 7 p.m. And then January 29th is the Selectmen's meeting, 7 p.m., Town Hall, my budget presentation for fiscal 2019.
Very well. Thank you all. With that being said, unless there's anything else, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Mr. Bendel and seconded by Mr. Kyra. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you all and good evening.